Okay, so today I'd like to talk about this lower right corner board position where black tenuki twice after approaching. And I mean, black got a lot of good stuff. You got the corner here, you got corner enclosure here. So I do want to point out that white got these two extra stones, and it's a really nice shape. It looks like there's not much room for black to play anymore, but turns out um, black actually has a lot of interesting aji that he can create in this corner. So yeah, let's get started. So first of all, the first few moves are uh, pretty standard, I'd say. The attachment, Hane, and this Hane, it's probably the most commonly played moves in history of mankind. And even AI does approve this kind of attachment Hane. Um, so right now, I just want to clarify that white cannot play a passive move like this, cannot just defend the second line stone, because if she does, then black makes a double tiger's mouth, and then black is very much close to being alive. For example, if white tries to kill black, black can just, for example, you can just extend. If white blocks, then this should be, yeah, a pretty obvious life for black. So let's say if white extends here, then black can even just push out, and even here, black can make eyes easily. So basically, there's no way to kill black efficiently the moment he plays a double tiger's mouth. So that's why it's important that white destroys black's eye shape. And in the past, human beings have always played this move. It's almost like this is probably like the most standard sequence that we have always played. But AI has recommended this Atari, and we will go into the different variations that can happen. So basically, white has a few options. You either descend on this side, or you save the stone somehow, be it a connection, tiger's mouth. So we'll look into these variations. So let's look at the most simple one. If white just extends here, then black obviously captures, make life. And then here, white is facing some trouble, because if white tenuki elsewhere, see white tenukis, then black can just immediately save the stone, and white has to connect. Then basically white's territory has been reduced to almost nothing here. So it's very painful to allow your opponent tenuki twice and still got no significant territory. So meaning that at this point, white probably owes a move. But if she does, then the territorial gain is too small, plus black gets a nice peep on the outside. Then, yeah, black also gets sente. So this is just way too slow and inefficient for white, meaning that if white descends, it's a really, really bad result for white. So white cannot play that. So let's look at a simple move to defend the second line stone. So the moment when white defends the second line stone, black is basically having some trouble in terms of living here, because if black extends here, white can kill the corner by playing this move. Now, if black extends, it's important that white does not just block here, because if white does, then black just connects here, white has to connect, and then here black can just capture a stone and make an eye. So the moment when black extends, white cannot block. White can, however, cut instead. This cut is really nice because it's forcing black to capture, and it also reduces black's eye space down to, here, which is not enough to make 2 eyes. And white does not have to worry about black playing a hane to capture 2 stones because, yeah, black will just get sealed in anyway, and white is safe. So the moment when white cuts, black cannot do anything other than like saving his stones partially. And here white can just, I think white can probably just play a simple connection, and then black can save his stones on the outside, but it's not very useful because, I mean, it's just a stick. It's not very good. This is really horrible for black, basically. Yeah. So when black connects, or sorry, when white plays this connection, black has to be ready to give up some stones. And here, a nice probing move is this extension. So say if white is very, very stubborn and wants to kill everything, then here, it's important that black does not get greedy and tries to capture 1 stone because white will have a really nice squeeze. Yeah, and if black extends, he will just die, or if he captures, then he just gets squeezed and he'll just die anyway. So black cannot capture, but black has a really nice way to live, which is just a really simple bend here. And white can save the stone, but black is still going to live with just an empty triangle here. And here, notice that I did not exchange an Atari, because when black plays this empty triangle, he is reserving the option of playing Atari this way and pushing down the 2 stones on at a potentially low position. So basically, black can save this Atari options. He doesn't have to play the Atari and force white into an empty triangle right away. And anyway, here black is just alive. If white blocks, yeah, really simple life and death. Yeah. So here, this result is obviously very bad for white. So meaning that when black extends, white cannot block. White can only play a move to capture black's 3 stones. And the most efficient move that white can play is this hane. And once again, black cannot save these stones because basically white has the key point. Basically it cuts into black's 2 stones, and if black captures, black is sealed in, or if black extends, black's corner is dead anyway. So black cannot cut, black can only escape. And then now when black escaped, white can defend. And yeah, here we can play out a really simple variation like this. This result, it's not very satisfactory for white because when black bends, this cut becomes quite severe. Even if white actually, let me show you real quick. Say white tenuki elsewhere, and then black gets a cut. Then it's 4 liberties versus 4 liberties. If white has to play like this, then black can just calmly extend once more. And then you can see how black actually has pretty decent influence and has already significantly reduce white's initial territory that was outlined by, these 3 stones, right? Or these 4 stones. And not to mention, black will get sente moves on the outside. Every single one of these sente moves, are forcing, and white has to spend moves inside her territory just to capture stones, which is quite painful. So this result, even though black lost, died 3 stones in the corner, it's actually pretty painful for white. So in this case, AI actually recommended the best response that white can play is this tiger's mouth. So this tiger's mouth, it's very, very similar to the second line connection. It's forcing, it basically attempts to kill black. For example, if black plays like this again, once again, he will just die, with his cut. Yeah, and this Atari really didn't help with black's eye space in any way. For example, like this. Yeah, if you push, white can just extend, and yeah. Black doesn't have enough eye space at the lower right corner anyway. So the tiger's mouth, given that it can, kill black's corner, and that it's a mouth that's more facing the outside, it's certainly a superior move compared to just a simple connection. So now we know that black cannot live in the corner. Black, once again, has to sacrifice the 3 stones, and we know that white cannot block because black will have a nice living sequence. So white can only play like this, and black extends. And then here, white has 2 options. You either extend or you block this way. So if you block this way, this is it's nice because it secures potentially all of these 4 points and potentially even more if you play the knight's move to expand the lower side of the board. So usually white should play like this if there's potential to develop the lower side of the board. But there will be some bad Aji issues that I will show you right away. So here, after black, say he plays a knight's move, say white tenukis. Now, because white tenuki, black once again can do this cut again, and then get a lot of forcing moves out of white. So white can crawl once again to generate a cutting point here, and then white really has to go back to capture black's group. And I know while black can start a ko like this ko is very disadvantageous for black, so it's better off to just die directly and force white to capture your stones in Gote. But do you know that if black has a ton of really good ko threats, he can potentially consider this ko, later on. But even if black just plays like the simple way, he gets his forcing moves, you can see that black was able to entirely close off the right side in Sente. Then he can just focus on developing the right side of the board. So this is an issue for white to give black so many nice Sente moves to close off the right side, which is why AI does not recommend white to tenuki locally and recommends that white plays one more move to ensure that she has extended her liberties, she has a living shape, and now black should really tenuki and play elsewhere. So if we go back here, when black extended, if white doesn't want any bad aji, white can obviously just simply extend here. But if you extend in the future, it gives black a really nice shoulder hit point. this is a lot more powerful because when black descends here, he has nice follow-ups like a Hane and whatnot. So whereas previously, if white had a stone here instead, the shoulder hit is a lot weaker. So there are pros and cons, but in this case, since there's a white has a wall on the left side, left corner, I think, or AI also, AI thinks that this move would make more sense to develop the lower side potential. So yeah, this is like the AI Joseki, if you will. Okay, so let's look at what a lot of humans have played in the past. So a lot of humans have played this in the past, and it's very important that you know your follow-ups later on, because if you mess up here, it gets pretty bad. For example, here, there are two Ataris and they both look very, very similar, but there's only one right way of playing it. So let me first cover this way. I always thought that this is the right way to play, but it turns out it's pretty bad. So I just want to say what humans have played in the past was not entirely not playable. It was probably only like a 2% drop in win rate. So it's still playable, but it's really important to know that to know the follow-ups. For example, if someone screwed up and played here, turns out black can just directly extend and give up 2 stones. And we will look at what's going to happen next. So when black extends, realize that white is still not alive, right? Oh, white only has 1 eye, and she still needs to crawl once to make another eye. So that is something that's quite painful. So here, white obviously does not want, or if white just crawls and lives here, it's quite sad. It's quite painful for white because black can just get a lot of nice sente moves and develop the right side of the board. And white's territorial gain, well, did not increase at all. Initially, it was outlined by these 4 stones, and it's still, the territory is still the same amount. We don't see any improvement. So black, however, got like 3 moves on the outside, getting a lot of points. So this is really, really bad for white. And say if white does not play defensively, wants to be more aggressive, attempt to kill black's stones, here black can just extend, and obviously white doesn't have the guts to play Hane here. And here, black can already start capturing white's corner. So let's play the semi-eye out. Black bend, white bends. Black does not throw in, he just descends. And once again, does not throw in, just Atari and captures. And then you'll realize that, well, say white captures these stones. Black can sente live in the corner by giving up 3 stones on the second line, which is, giving up 3 stones on the second line is, it's really no big deal because you see how white spent so many moves on the first line just to capture white. Yeah, this is extremely inefficient for white, and black is now 100% alive. When black is 100% alive, it opens up all kinds of interesting attachments, shoulder hits, invasion points at the lower side of the board. So this is extremely inefficient for white to capture 3 stones in Gote and allowing black to live. And it's really bad. I guess regarding this semi, um, all you need to remember is that the moment when black reaches 5 liberties, that is when black can start killing the corner, okay? Uh, and if you're wondering why I said don't throw in, it's because throw in will always get you in the ko situation. And I mean, black can just live without a ko. So I think it's better to just live without a ko, even though it's just it's you have to give up 3 stones on second line. So yeah, I think it's better to just live directly. So white can also play out like a knight's move, and
Can I ask a question here, Jonathan?
yeah, go ahead, Brendan.
Actually, it was actually about the previous variation where, uh, let's see. So where white lives on the inside, so it plays at A here.
Yeah.
Can black cross attach at F5?
Wait, F5, S.
Sorry,
Wait,
sorry. P5.
E5.
Yeah.
Oh,
Coordinates are very tiny, and this one.
yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, I think you could totally do that. I think there will be some slight, maybe some danger that even if black captures this,
Yeah, still not alive.
well, I think you can make it alive. Or can you? It's actually a little hard.
Uh-huh.
It's hard. Ugh. Yeah, it's complicated.
Okay, fair enough.
Maybe you might be able to start a fight, but I think it's
Mhm.
very complicated. There's a lot of risk.
Absolutely.
I think giving up the stones is like so much easier. I know it's like at the end of this variation. I know it's black gote, but I think black's territorial gain is quite significant because white really didn't gain much from any of these exchanges. And there's still, I'd say, some potential agi if when you attach here. The 3 stones are still kind of useful.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, thanks.
Yep. Okay, let's go back. So yeah, so I was talking about the knight's move, and knight's move is quite similar, where black can just attach, and here once again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You count at 5 liberties. You can repeat the same sequence, and black is going to live in the corner in Sante, and can do something else elsewhere. And even though this time white captures like 4 stones, she still has to play like four moves on the first line, so her position is not significantly improved. And finally, if white does not play Hane and chooses to live here, then this means you get to Hane on the 2 stones, right? Then yeah, then the result is just really not great for white because black is just developing the right side of the board. Okay. So yeah, this is a result of white extending on the wrong side when she captured the second line stone. So the right way to capture is this way. And when black extends, capturing these 2 stones is once again very bad. So I guess the key point is that whenever black extends, if you find yourself capturing it, then you got tricked. So let's look at how bad this gets for white. So once again, black is going to capture. And this time it's kind of worse for white because there's no way for white to make two eyes locally. So black has to fight a semi-eye. So, or white has to fight a semi-eye to not die in the corner. And white can either focus on killing 3 stones or killing 2 stones. You only got these 2 choices in order to not die. And let's look at the really simple one. This is a simple way to kill, and black can just play an attachment. If white hanes, black can just simply extend and allow white to defend in gote. And then black can already start tenuki. And I do want to point out that these 3 stones are still not captured because later on, say way later on in the end game phase, black can consider throw in and a descend. And if white blocks, then white's just dead. White. And if white does not block, then black can play this Atari to fight a coat, right? Because white cannot connect. White would die. White can only save herself. And then right now it's not going to work because there's this Hane issue. But later on, much later on in the end game, when black has some supporting stones, maybe a supporting stone over here, basically some supporting stones, black can actually save his 3 stones. So the Aji in the corner is still really bad for white. So that's one way. And if white plays here, all black needs to do is to extend liberties. Just attach, and if white extends, then black can start killing white. And say white plays this kind of monkey or reverse monkey jump trying to escape, then here black can just, once again, he does not throw in, he just plays this Atari. And obviously white connects, then white would die. The best that white could do is to play this 1 space jump to save her stones, and then here black can capture first, push once, and then white's there's this snapback, right? Or if white plays like this, then what black can just Atari white all the way. So locally, white is pretty much dead. Yeah. So we covered how when black extends, the two stones don't capture it. Because no matter what you play, even if you capture the 2 stones, the result is pretty bad. So the AI recommended way to play is a tiger's mouth. So right now, black cannot just capture this, right? If black captures, then black's dead. Just has 1 eye. So black needs to do something else first. For example, maybe an exchange like this. And then capture. This significantly increases black's livelihood, but it's pretty bad for black to play these kind of moves, especially in this kind of situation, because white is just getting stronger on the outside, and actually black is not 100% alive yet. The way to challenge black's life and death status is with a clamp and then connection. And here, black's is basically under a lot of pressure. For example, he doesn't have a lot of options. A diagonal move would get himself killed immediately because when white extends, but then basically there are 2 Miai points where white can either save this or capture this. So here, black's only option to try to not die is this Atari. Oh, okay. So when black plays this Atari, if white really wants to kill black, white would need to connect like this, right? And then white and black plays this Atari again, white connect. If white connects, then black can live, meaning that white has to extend here, allowing black capture 3 stones and capture this. But then now when black hanes, white's territory is destroyed and there's no easy way for white to kill this group. Yeah, black is just gonna run out and white's territory is completely destroyed. So you would only play like this if you're losing the game really badly, and yeah, this is a really desperate way of playing. But do note that black's has very, very bad Aji here. In the future, if white develops some significant thickness on the lower side of the board, then black's life and death status is in danger. So if white wants to avoid all of those complications, a really simple way to play, at least in this situation, is to just capture 2 stones and allow black to just keep crawling, and live locally. Do you know that white, you know, white spend an extra 2 moves locally, so it doesn't feel very comfortable to let black live, even though white had an extra 2 moves at the lower right corner of the board. But AI does think that allowing black to crawl on the second line, at least in this local position, it's still a playable game for white. Okay. So this is one way to use this kind of to save your 3 stones and to locally make life for black. And turns out there's another way of using the corner achi. That is, black can focus on making this diagonal move sente. And there are a couple ways to do it. For example, if black can get attachment here, and if white plays a hane this way, then immediately, and since we know that white does not want to capture the 2 stones, we can see that black can live locally, but again, this is probably too early for black to consider this kind of variation, because it's really horrible for black to have to respond to this kind of sente. And white is extremely thick. Attachment is one way for black to live. Another way is to make good use of your shoulder hit, because if you ever get to descend here, then your hane is just like the attachment, where black can get this move in sente, but obviously you would not want to play locally like this. You would want to save your shoulder hit stones first before you consider making blacks lower live in the lower right corner like this. So yeah, making that diagonal move a sente is another way to help black to make life in this situation. So we talked about how black can live, but turns out AI rarely would recommend those kind of moves. And in fact, those moves are, I'd say, mostly played by humans, at least from the pro games that I've looked into. AI have almost always recommended this move to sacrifice the 3 stones. And when black plays like this, the human instinct is to just cut, right? Otherwise, why even bother playing a knight's move at the first place if you're not gonna cut? So Yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasonable or logical moves. And after playing this, AI would recommend this attachment. Obviously, white once again has to block, right? And then here comes some interesting aji. That is, black can now extend here. And when black extends, note that these two stones are about to be laddered, right? So white needs to defend somehow, and a more efficient way to defend is to Atari the outside stone. And then now you can see how these three stones are kind of short on liberties. And here a really nice Tetsuji that black can use is an extension giving up two stones. And then here you can see how black just got fifth line influence in Sente. All of these four moves were played in Sente, and it's still black's turn to play. So while white has secured a corner, this is usually how AI recommends black to use the corner aji. That is, instead of focusing on living here, just give up the stones and then build a wall in Sente. And we should also look at AI's best counter attack against this attachment. So while a human being would really want to just cut here, AI actually recommended in this particular situation, where white has a wall on the lower left corner, to play a tiger's mouth to let black run, which is quite surprising because white spends so many moves and you just let your opponent run, really. But after a few more moves, I hope you can see that when black runs, these are just all of these moves. All of these four moves are dame and are not creating a lot of points, not creating a lot of opportunities, not even eye shape, just is literally just running. Whereas white's stones, all of these stones, are controlling the space on the, it's expanding the lower side of the white's moyo, right? So this is, I think in the case where white has a wall at the lower left corner to complement this kind of attack, white should definitely consider this way of playing, allowing black to have a weak group and make him play a bunch of dames while controlling the center influence and expanding the moyo. I think there's something that we can definitely learn from AI. And then let me talk about AI's counter response against this tiger's mouth. Because running out is, I think it's clearly bad for black in this particular situation because white is interested in making good use of the wall, right? That's also one of the reasons why initially there's value in playing this pincering stone against black's approaching stone. So here, black, instead of connecting, AI would recommend black to play a cap. That is, instead of just running directly, make some exchanges so that it's easier for you to run later on. And if white now, comes back and kills black's three stones off, then black has really nice reduction points or possibly invasion points for destroying white's influence or even attachment. So, and do keep in mind that white did spend an extra two moves, and now we're even making this kind of inside and outside exchange between black and white. And if white plays like this, white would be, I'd say, pretty slow. White might have trouble catching up later on. So these are AI's recommended moves when black plays this attachment. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of interesting moves in this local board position, so let's switch things up a bit. Let's look at a different kind of opening where, say, something like this happened, where the pincering stone is actually facing black instead of having a white wall helping out the pincering stone. So in this case, AI still recommends the same classical or the same beginning sequence. And here, AI still prefers this variation. The only difference occurs is right now when black extends. Previously, we talked about how white can consider blocking here, even though it leaves bad aji in the corner, because white was interested in developing this side, the left side of the board. But now, since white doesn't have a wall, white has no potential on the left side. Here is when white can consider a more defensive move, an extension instead of the block. That's one difference to note, and we can look at this one as well. Here, when black extends, white is still recommended to play the tiger's mouth. But the knight's move is more severe for black this time, because this time, if black plays like this, white now has a pretty severe cutting point, which means white owes a move, which means black kind of destroyed white's entire territory in Sante. So this way of playing has become really severe. And note that white still cannot kill this group effectively because of this, because of this move. And yeah, let me just show you real quick. Yeah, you can see having a supporting stone is really helpful because black is about to, either make an eye or connect back. So it's quite painful to let your opponent to live in your corner in Sante like this. Yeah. So here, instead of so here actually white, when black plays like this, white can actually consider just play lightly, allow black to crawl on the second line in Gote, and then just tenuki and play elsewhere. So if you don't have a really good, if you're not very confident about blocking, you can just make this fourth line and second line exchange, which is good for white, and then just take Sente, play elsewhere. That was recommended. And finally, let's look at the most commonly recommended by AI move. In this case, previously we talked about how white can just play a tiger's mouth and attack black, but this time white has no supporting stones at the lower left corner. There's basically like no moyo to develop, so you really cannot play like this anymore. You actually have to just capture black. And when white is kind of forced to capture black, then black will still get this really nice sequence of giving up stones. Notice that ladder is not working. Like black cannot ladder because of these stones here. But even if ladder does not work, it does not mean that white can play, like a one space jump here. because even if ladder does not work, black still has a really nice squeeze. And now, because black stone is on either, it's on both sides of the board that white is facing, meaning this means that black can either get this good move or that good move. No matter what white plays, black will get the other. So black basically got pretty good influence, and white's territory still was not, like, did not increase significantly because white's territory was outlined by, by these four moves, right? And yeah, white's territory is still very limited here. So yeah, the ladder is not a critical condition because of a really nice squeeze. Cool. And we still have 12 minutes. Any questions so far? If not, then we can start looking at pro games. Let me switch my screen first.
I have to run, but thank you for the lecture, Jonathan. Very
Okay.
cool.
Yep.
You.
See you then, Brendan. Okay. Let's share screen. Lizzie. Okay, can you guys see my screen? I do hope so.
I can see it.
See it? Okay,
I can see it.
great. Let's look at some. So I just want to say even pros have a very hard time using the corner aji, so don't be discouraged if the first few times that you face this pattern you've had trouble. So the pro played like the classical human sequence at the top left corner here. And let's see how he later on used the aji. Okay, so here at this point, AI would recommend this variation that we've talked about, right? Atari extension, and then there's a ladder. Yeah, the ladder works for black, so white really needs to play here. And then black will get all of these sente moves. So basically, you can kind of see how this is has a kind of grayish squares, which means that Katago thinks that this is already, it's likely under black's influence and can potentially turn into territory. So that's a really nice way to get a free sente wall for the development of your top side. That's how Katago would have played, but let's look at what human player did. So human player played the moves in, I'd say, the wrong sequence. He played this way first, which is a bad exchange now because white defended her cutting point and black has to run this eyeless group, and it ends up being really painful. Because black was not giving up any stones at all. He was saving this and also the top, the corner group. So yeah, it ends up being black not developing the top side much at all. Yeah, whereas black basically just created weak groups, did not develop much territory or potential at all, which I think is quite painful. So yeah, don't just run your groups out and think, apply the AI moves to give them up efficiently. And here's a different pro game. And let's see. So so once again, the classical sequence was played out. And basically it seems like, okay, so here you see how black played this Hane. And this Hane is going to allow black in the future to live in the corner, right? So I guess he was aiming for that. And you can see actually the pro played out the diagonal move where he indeed lived in the corner, all thanks to the Hane here. So with this diagonal move, black can save his stones, but he was already really behind. It seems like, yeah, it was a desperate move. But earlier on, I think Kata Go would have recommended, yeah, either attach. So this attachment is quite interesting. I haven't studied this too much. Oh, but yeah, Kata Go still recommended this way of playing. So if we play here, yeah, same sequence, extend, and then you can see how Kata Go thinks that, okay, this large area is like under black's influence and has pretty good potential development. And once again, it's really nice to see how black got all these 4 stones in Sante. Yeah, I think back then, this game was from 2019, and the pros were really focused on the territorial gains and loss. And that's why they don't like to give up stones that easily. But it's not what Katago recommends. Let's look at some good examples from pros. Okay. So here, now white is trying to make the aji happen. And let's see what black did. Okay, black once again played the classical sequence. And white, if I remember correctly, white didn't use the aji at all here. Not yet, not yet. Okay, what white did, however, was to just extend directly and play the diagonal move. And black just let white live here, which is quite interesting. This is basically saying that black didn't have the confidence to, oh, maybe black was afraid of an invasion here, allowing white to Sente invade here. Then black will have trouble basically killing off the stone. And white actually has too much territory over the rest of the board. So maybe that's why black was so scared of white, invading his outside territory. But allowing white to live like this was kind of painful as well. Yeah, black's winning rate is pretty bad here. Let's look at another better example where the pro made good use of the yaji. Okay, so this time at the pincering side, black has some supporting stones. So we know that black can potentially play the knight's move and make life, right? So let's see how black used the aji here. Okay, the classical sequence was played out, and indeed the knight's move was one of the recommended. I haven't thought of this cap though, but let's see what the pro played. Okay, the pro did play the knight's move. And here, yeah, exactly. So here, when you have supporting stones like this close to that pincering stone, the cut becomes really severe. So in the game, the pro played other sequences that wasn't that optimal, but here, Katago showed a really simple sequence where black just bends and seal this entire white group inside. And basically it creates a semi where white has to kill off these black stones in order for white's group to survive. And here black is basically getting some free Sente moves. Black can even give up 2 stones. Pretty nice Tasuji. Yeah, even a cut, Atari. And here later on black can even throw in and force white to spend a bunch of moves to capture his dead stones. But anyway, you can see how black gained a free wall in the center and has a lot of center influence, whereas the white territory was still roughly the same. Sure, black gave an extra 2 stones on the outside, but black actually has some throw-in aji later on. So sometimes push and cut and then force your opponent to and then build a wall on the outside is already a good enough way to make good use of the aji of your dead stones. And finally, I hope this is a really good one. Okay, so this time, instead of black having stones here, it's white. Yeah, white is supporting her pinstring stones. And let's see. Okay, this time they did not play the classical pattern. They played the AI recommended moves. And here, the tiger's mouth, black extended, white haned, and then black extended again. These are all following the AI Joseki. And black extended again. Okay, so here, as you can see, white has some potential at the left side. And therefore, this move is it's certainly playable, and you can see how these are, you know, one of the AI's recommendation. But turns out black has, I'd say, probably too much potential on the rest of the board because black got to tenuki twice, right? So therefore, AI is recommending to just split up the board right now, as opposed to playing another local move. So I guess it's good to know that this is a position where white can potentially tenuki instead of just playing the Joseki moves. But yeah, there's note that all of these games were taken from 2019, so people did have the chance to study some of the AI recommended moves. Okay, so I think that's all I have for today.